Hi guys, it's Maddie here to give you some suggestions, perhaps things that you could read or watch to take your mind off things. You know, maybe you want to relax, maybe you want to be distracted in some way. I have a variety of coping mechanisms or ways to escape. Now, this video idea is from April, from Getting Hooga With It. I watched her video the other day, which she said was inspired by Leanne from Literary Diversions. So I will be linking both of their channels down below, both of the videos that I'm referencing right now. And they both gave some coping mechanisms. So I sort of watched April's. I took some of her coping mechanisms, some of her ideas that she used. I created some of my own. And yeah, so I'm going to be suggesting a book, a TV show, and a movie for each of these categories, okay? But first, you know what time it is. We are going to be drinking the Shiner Prickly Pear. God, this. Oh, it says twist. Well, too late for that now. All right, let's give it a taste. It's good. It's like sweet. Not very sweet though. Like, it has a sweetness, I guess you could say. Let's get to our list. So the first way I have to escape here, this one comes directly from April, is surround yourself with happy things. Okay. The book I chose to recommend is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is not a normal genre for me. This is not a book I would have normally picked up. It was so wonderful. It was an escape to a political climate that is different from the one that we're in, to a world where, you know, things are a little bit better than they are right now. As a wonderful male-male relationship between the Prince of England and the first son of the United States. There's plenty of hijinks in it. I laughed a lot during this book. I highly recommend this one to make you feel better. The movie I chose for this category is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's very, well, okay, let's say. It's Legally Blonde with Reese Witherspoon.
This is the type of girl that Warner wants to marry. This is what I need to become to be serious. A law student.
And I love this movie. This movie is hilarious. This movie is uplifting. You know, you get to see her sort of go from this kind of sad, she's sad after a breakup and stuff, to like being a badass and like getting through law school and stuff all by herself. And it's just amazing. And for a TV show, I chose a classic. I chose Bob's Burgers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can purchase delicious burgers that look somewhat like him right here at the park.
And at my family's restaurant.
And, what's the name of that restaurant?
It's God,
Bob's
I'm there every
Burgers!
day.
Bob's Burgers!
Oh, God.
Gene!
Never mind. That's okay. We can get everything you expect from a burger at whatever the name of his restaurant
I
is.
just remembered.
It's too late, but you can get them here at the park today.
Say it!
I don't know anyone who's ever watched this show and not enjoyed it. It's hilarious. Every single member of the Belcher family is hilarious. Every single supporting character is hilarious. It just, when I'm feeling really sad, this is a show I will put on like in a second. There's like 9 seasons or 10 seasons. I know it's on Hulu, if you have access to that. I'm not sure where else it could be, but it fills my heart with so much joy to watch Bob's Burgers. So the next way to escape from the world that we're in right now is to literally escape into another world. So a sci-fi or a fantasy world where it's completely different from what's going on right now. So the book I chose, technically part of it, like it's technically sort of takes place in our world, but in a very different version of our world. So I picked The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This is a weird book. I'm gonna tell you, it's weird. It will definitely keep you wondering like what the hell is going on. But for me, that totally sold it. I was just so engrossed in like what the heck is going on, like what are these people really doing. There is this group of children who have been raised by this man. They call him father, but he's essentially like a god, and he wants to teach each of them part of the knowledge that he has. And so there's this library that where they live, like they live underneath of it, I think, and they each have, I think it's like a specialization, or I can't remember what they call it, but they each have a specialization where this is the thing that they know a lot about and they've learned a lot about, but none of them are allowed to learn each other's. The movie I chose could have also gone for the last category. Is The Princess Bride.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
This is, again, one of my favorite movies of all time. If this movie is fundamental in shaping who I am as a person, like I genuinely believe that. The comedy in this movie is ridiculous. I mean, the sword fighting scene between the Dread Pirate Roberts and Inigo Montoya is iconic. Again, this is another movie where like I love every character. Even the characters who are like bad characters are hilarious. It's very nice. It's very wholesome. It's got magic. It's got a love story. It has sword fighting. I mean, it has everything that you could want. And the TV show I picked is an oldie but a goodie. I picked Star Trek.
Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
Now, I personally like The Next Generation, which is the one with Patrick Stewart, and Deep Space Nine. But any Star Trek series is good. Yes, even Enterprise. Come for me. You can start with the old classics, the original Star Trek, with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. I just think Star Trek is wonderful because it imagines a future where, you know, our problems on Earth aren't the main things that we're focusing on anymore. It's about exploring other planets and interacting with other alien beings. I think they're all really well done, and there's tons of seasons on Netflix, like tons, and you could just lose yourself in the stories of these people. So the next category is give your brain something to obsess over. And for this, it's more of like a mystery thriller, figuring things out type of genre. So the book I chose is The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. There's this character who we meet, and that's our first character, or that's our narrator. And he is trying to figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. And that's all I'm going to tell you because I really don't want to spoil any part of this. It's a little bit of a chunker. Not only are you trying to figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle, but you're trying to figure out what exactly is going on with the main character. Like, how did he end up in this situation? And how is he going to get out of it? The movie I chose is one that maybe a lot of people have seen, but I still really enjoy rewatching it. And I chose Gone Girl.
As you all know, my wife, Amy Elliott Dunn, disappeared 3 days ago. I had nothing to do with the disappearance of my wife. I have nothing to hide.
If you've never seen this, don't look anything up about it. Seriously, just go watch the movie. Because the twists in this movie, which is based on a book, are iconic. Like, I actually saw the movie before I read the book, and I was shocked. Like, I was like, what? And it basically, it's a movie where the main character, Ben Affleck, I think his name's Nick, and his wife has gone missing. And so the movie is about trying to figure out what happened to her, and there's also flashbacks about the relationship. It's an interesting take on a thriller. So then for TV show, I actually picked a documentary TV show, but it will send you down a crazy rabbit hole. I chose The Keepers on Netflix.
Sister Kathy exemplified this spirit of compassion and kindness.
I have never had a teacher like that before.
She was murdered our senior year, and it's always haunted many people in the community.
This is a true crime documentary about the disappearance of a nun at a Catholic school I will warn you, this documentary does have a lot of mentions and descriptions of sexual assault and murder. So if that's something that bothers you, definitely don't watch this. But if you are a true crime person and this is something that interests you, it's amazing. The two women, the two main women in this who are like investigating are amazing. I love them so much. You're trying to solve the mystery along with them. You're feeling all these emotions that the people who are going through this feel. It's fantastic. The next category, the next coping mechanism is surround yourself with things that restore your faith in humanity. So the book I chose for this, it may be an odd one, but I don't know. I felt like it restored my faith in humanity. It's The Unseen World by Liz Moore. This is a book that is dealing with a girl and her father. Her father works in this lab at a university and is trying to create this computer technology that can talk to you and do all sorts of things. And it's just a really interesting look at this girl and her father's relationship and how they end up in the world. And it just, I don't know, I fell in love with this book and I just felt so deeply for the characters, and it just, I don't know, it made me feel good after I finished reading it. The movie I chose is Remember the Titans.
This is no democracy. It is a dictatorship. I am the law. If you survive camp, you will be on the team. If you survive.
Again, this is one that a lot of people may have seen, but there's nothing wrong with rewatching movies. This one I think is on Disney Plus, so if you have that, check it out. This is the story, it's based on a true story, of this high school. I think it's in Alabama. Oh my god, my dad would kill me for not knowing that. I think it's in Alabama. And it is when this high school got desegregated, and it's following the football team where the black players and the white players like have to come together in order to play as a team. And it has Denzel Washington, and he's amazing in it. It's just one of those quintessential uplifting movies, and you don't even have to like sports to love it. I don't like sports. But the relationship between the men, the boys in this, the high schoolers in this is amazing, and just it's just a really like a feel-good movie that, you know, it's about people coming together. What's better than that? The TV show I chose for this is The West Wing.
The first commandment says, honor thy father.
No, it doesn't.
Toby,
it doesn't.
Listen to...
No, if I'm going to make you sit through this preposterous exercise, we're going to get the names of the damn commandments right.
Okay, here we go.
Honor thy father is the third commandment.
Then what's the first commandment?
I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt worship no other God before me. Boy, those were the days, huh?
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
This is on Netflix as well. I'm not sure where else. I always watch it on Netflix. This is a show I have been watching since I was a child. My dad loves this show. It's his favorite show probably of all time, if I had to guess. And it follows people who work in the White House. The president is not the main character. It's the main characters are like his chief of staff and his speech writers and the press secretary and people like that. And it's from the late 90s, early 2000s, but it is just wonderful to watch. It's hilarious. It's heartbreaking. It's uplifting. Like I said, I mean, some of the things that they do for people in this show are amazing. And it is just it's a nice escapist show. And there's like 7 seasons, although I will tell you, I think the first 4 are the best 4, but it's still worth watching after that. Okay, so then I added a couple. So all those ones previous to this were ones that I got from April's video. And I just wanted to add a couple because they're things that I do sometimes to cope, and I thought maybe they could apply to other people. So the next coping mechanism is one of my favorite ones, and it's scare yourself silly. Watch scary things, read scary things. Now, being scared is objective, and the things that scare me may not scare you. So I'm going to give you some recommendations, but they may not work for you. So I actually picked 2 books because I wanted a couple different types of scares. So the first one I chose is Gerald's Game by Stephen King. This is definitely a psychological horror and isolationist horror. You're following a woman who goes to a summer cabin with her husband at the end of the season, so like no one else is around, and something goes wrong and she ends up there by herself, chained to the bed. And you're just following her thoughts as she's trying to get free, as she has time for her mind to wander. The other book I chose is Kill Creek, which I think is by Scott Thomas. And this, you're following 4 horror writers who have been asked to go into this haunted house to stay on Halloween, to be filmed for like a documentary or something. And it's basically a haunted house story from there. It's about how the haunted house affects each one of them, what it does to them. The movie I chose is A Quiet Place. Now again, a lot of people might not find this scary, but this is something that when I saw it in theaters with my friends, we were jumping and yelling at all these different parts and stuff like that. But you're following a family, I think it's 2 parents and like 3 kids, during an apocalyptic time where there's these creatures that if they hear you, they will kill you. So it's just about them trying to survive, basically. I'm not saying this is the best movie in the world, but it was a lot of fun and I was spooked. It's jump scares, so if that is something that bothers you, keep that in mind. The TV show I chose to recommend, I haven't actually watched it, but I've heard really good things, and that is The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix.
We're not like any other family. We're different because of where we grew up. Hill House.
This was on my list to watch during this time, so I thought I would recommend it to you guys because then we could watch it together. This is loosely based on The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, but you're basically following this group of people in this haunted house. And that's all I really know about it, but I've heard it's very scary. So another coping mechanism I decided to add is laugh yourself silly. And I know this kind of goes in conjunction with surround yourself with happy things, but I was really trying to find some stuff that was just ridiculously funny. The book I chose is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. You're following 2 angels who have been not really wanting to do their jobs the right way for a long time, and they've just been kind of like counteracting each other. But then an apocalyptic situation happens and they have to deal with that. This is another one that has an adaptation. There's a TV series on Amazon Prime, that has David Tennant in it. So, what more do I need to say? Come on. The movie I chose to recommend is another oldie but a goodie, and I chose Wayne's World.
Game on! Game on! He shoots, he scores! Oh! 1 for 1!
That is going wild!
Char! Game on!
Game on!
This is a classic movie. It's one of those Saturday Night Live movies that, movies that came after us off of a Saturday Night Live sketch, but this is a movie I grew up watching and I just think it's hilarious. You're following Wayne and Garth, who are 2 friends, with their public access TV show and getting sponsorships and relationships, but it's hilarious. Plus Wayne's girlfriend's really hot, so there's that too. Okay, for TV I have 2 recommendations because I literally couldn't decide. First one I have is Arrested Development.
Before going to work, Michael decided to have a little fun.
I'm doing a little cost projection analysis for a mini mall.
Wow, it's pretty cool you know how to do all that stuff.
Yeah, well, maybe your old man's just a little bit cooler than you thought he was. Oh! Stupid chair.
Now, personally, I'm only recommending the first 3 seasons. I did not adore the reboot like I did the original 3 seasons. So you're following the Bluth family, and they're a very dysfunctional family of people who have had everything in the world and have suddenly lost it. It's hilarious. There are an array of ridiculous characters, and yeah, this is a good binge watching show, and this one is on Netflix as well. The other show I'm recommending is The Simpsons.
Homie, you have no idea what it's like being married to you.
Me being married to me, eh? Stop the wedding! What about our child? Don't forget me. Now I've seen everything.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I think it's hilarious, especially in the earlier seasons. Like the first half of it, I think is perfection. I still think it's funny, but I definitely think earlier is better. And this is actually on Disney Plus in its entirety. If you don't know what The Simpsons is about, you're following a family. It's a mom and dad, a brother, a sister, and a baby. And then everyone in their town. And it's just all the various hijinks they get up to. I particularly recommend the Treehouse of Horror episodes. Those are the Halloween episodes. And it's just a lot of fun. They're 20-minute episodes. You can binge a whole season in a day and not even notice it. And my last coping mechanism, if you will, is to indulge in guilty pleasures. Now, I don't ever feel guilty about anything I read or watch, but this is just a common phrase that we use to watch things that other people might not see as good enough or whatever. So for books, I actually have 2 series to recommend. My guilty pleasure are cozy mysteries. So the cozy one I'm recommending is the Bake Shop mysteries. It's like the Bake Shop mystery series by Ellie Alexander. So you're following Jules, who used to work on a cruise ship, used to cook or bake on a cruise ship with her husband Carlos, but he has lied to her about something, so she's left the cruise ship and went back home to her hometown of Ashbury, Oregon, where her mother lives and owns a bakery. When Jules gets there, at least in the first one, and then the rest of them, she's kind of already there in Ashbury, somebody dies. She gets involved. Cozy mysteries generally involve an amateur sleuth, which she is. She's just a baker, and she's trying to solve the mystery. The other book series I want to recommend is the Inspector Gamache series by Louise Penny. The first one is Still Life. You're following Chief Inspector Gamache, who is an inspector for Montreal Police. I don't remember how to say it. It's like in French. He goes to this small town of Three Pines. It's like a village in Canada to investigate a murder. And the rest of the books, for the most part, take place in Three Pines. There's one that didn't, and it was one of my least favorite ones. But you get to know the characters, the people who live in the town really well. His, inspector that goes along with him, whose name I can't remember, and his family. And you just fall in love with these characters, and you just don't want to stop reading. The movie that I chose to recommend is Sleepless in Seattle.
We're talking to Sleepless in Seattle.
You called a radio station? Christmas Eve. He phones in one of those radio call-in shows. He tells them
that his dad needs a new wife.
This is a Nora Ephron movie. When I saw April recommend You've Got Mail, I was like, oh, well, I have to recommend Sleepless in Seattle because that's my favorite Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks movie. Basically, this woman is listening to this radio show one night, and she hears a little boy asking for, I think he asked for a mom for Christmas. And it's Tom Hanks' son in the movie, and his wife has just died. But the woman hears this, and basically, the dad gets on and start talking, and she basically falls in love with him on the radio and wants to meet him. But the problem is that she's engaged. So it kind of follows their stories from there. It's just wonderful and lighthearted. And don't think about it too much because then it's creepy, but I love it, so I think you should watch it. For TV shows, if I'm talking about a guilty pleasure that I'm not actually guilty about, TV show, my number one is 90 Day Fiance.
Kayleen was able to come to the country through a K-1 fiancé visa that allows her to be in the country for 90 days, and she has to get married within those 90 days. And if she doesn't, then she has to go back.
It is absurd sometimes. I think the first season is very tame, but after that you start to meet some interesting characters. And oh, okay, so the premise of this show, if you don't know, is people who have met like either online or on vacation or something, and generally they already have an established relationship with this person. Like they've met them before, they've seen them in person, usually. As it goes on, it gets a little bit interesting. But essentially, the person who doesn't live in the US is coming to the US and they have to get married within 90 days. It's called a K1 visa. And you're just following them in that 90 days. And then the other show I chose is The Circle on Netflix.
On social media, you can be anyone.
Let the games begin.
And say anything.
Okay, let me think.
So who would you be if $100,000 was on the line?
I don't know what I can say about The Circle that hasn't already been said, but essentially I believe you start out with 8 people who are living in this apartment, but they aren't allowed to see each other and they aren't allowed to talk to each other like verbally. The only way they're communicating is via like social media. And the point is to last a week. So does that mean building friendships with people, building alliances, relationships, whatever? Some people are catfishing. They're not showing their real picture. Some people are genuine. There are people who you meet in the beginning of this show that you think you're going to hate and you think they're going to be douchebags. And then they end up being sweethearts with a heart of gold and you just fall in love with them. There's like 12 episodes on Netflix. It's amazing. You will think the show is stupid perhaps when you start. By the time you end, you're in love with all of them. So that is my variety of coping mechanisms and suggestions for you to try to get through this hard time. Yeah, if you liked this video, please give it a little thumbs up. Subscribe if you want more content from me. If you want to see that horror movie recommendations video, subscribe. And comment below. What are you doing to cope in this crazy time? Do you have any suggestions for me in any of these categories, especially horror and guilty pleasures? What is your guilty pleasure TV show? That is what I really want to know. What is the TV show that you watch that other people maybe would scoff at you for watching or make you feel bad for watching, but you love it anyway? I want to know because I'm not going to make you feel bad for it. Maybe I'll watch it. I want to watch mindless TV for days now. That is my goal, apart from keeping up with homework. Anyway, I can't remember if I signed off, but that's all for me today. I'll see you guys next time. Love you.